Rita Panahi is a Herald Sun columnist and broadcaster who takes on many subjects, including Australian culture, politics and immigration. Rita herself is a migrant Australian, born in America to Iranian parents. Please welcome Rita Panahi.
That was very powerful, Stan. I appreciate being here to hear it. I've got to say, when I was first asked to take part in this debate, my response was rather blunt. Why in God's name would I want to be the token conservative in a room full of self-loathing lefties? Yet, here I am, talking about whether racism is destroying the Australian dream, a topic that I find utterly absurd. I've often wondered why so many in this country, a country that is so wonderfully cohesive and inclusive in 2015, are desperate to paint it as some racist backwater. Where else but in Australia and New Zealand will you find greater harmony among different races and religions? By any sensible measure, we are a truly tolerant country. As a migrant to this country, a non-Christian, obviously non-white Middle Eastern migrant, I'm enormously proud to call myself Australian. Have I faced racism? Yes, I have, on the rare occasion. But let's be clear, racists in this country today are the tiny minority of ignorant bottom feeders. They are powerless and their bigotry is typically born out of jealousy. They're the types who blame migrants for taking their jobs and their opportunities instead of getting off their lazy asses and working. It's not state-sanctioned racism. It is not condoned by the majority. Indeed, it is reviled by the majority. We do have random, isolated incidents that are blown up and endlessly examined. You can have one drunk bogan yelling some obscenity on a train, and it ends up on YouTube and ends up on the news, and then you have dozens of tortured field pieces written about it, and we end up having televised debates about it. We even have campaigns for racism that never even occurred, like the harebrained "I'll ride with you" hashtag that was trending while innocent people were still being kept hostage at the Lindt Cafe in Sydney. The I'll ride with you phenomenon was synonymous with the type of self-congratulatory moral posturing we've come to expect from social media, the lazy clicktivism of the jerk circle who think they're saving the world by one hashtag at a time. Now we have a term called Islamophobia, used to silence debate. I think Christopher Hitchens said it best when he described Islamophobia as a word created by fascists and used by cowards to manipulate morons. Labelling people racist has become a favourite pastime among some, so much so that it's beginning to lose all meaning. We have become so hypersensitive that any criticism, no matter how justified, can be called racist. Instead of encouraging critical thinking, I feel there's this atmosphere of censorship where discourse is silenced. Even Germaine Greer, for God's sakes, is now the focus of the hate police who say she's too offensive to be heard. I never thought I'd be standing up here defending Germaine Greer, but I am. She should have every right to speak at a university. I don't agree with her point of view on transgender people, but she's got every right to make it. And this atmosphere we've created where certain opinions are acceptable and certain ones aren't, and you're deemed racist immediately without any examination of what you're actually saying. Of course there's some racists in Australia, as there are everywhere in the world, but here their numbers are few and they're utterly disempowered. The bigotry that threatens the Australian dream isn't racist attitudes. It's the bigotry that seeks to silence and smear. It's the bigotry of low expectations, which refuses to call out abhorrent behaviour because of cultural sensitivity. It's the bigotry that seeks to wrap capable, empowered people in the cloak of victimhood. It's the bigotry that sees easily outraged Western feminists turn a blind eye to brutal misogyny seen in Islamic countries, as well as abhorrent practices much closer to home. We seem to have drifted into a worrying trend where self-appointed ethical guardians display a puritanical fervour to ban things they deem offensive, no matter how misplaced or overblown their defence may be. This renewed zeal for imposing one's viewpoints by stealth is not something to be celebrated. There's no virtue in being easily offended. Being hypersensitive doesn't make you more sensitive or a better person. It typically just makes you a massive bore. A free and sophisticated society must allow citizens to offend and to be offended without contravening any laws. If someone is not inciting violence or defaming an individual or group, then why should their right to free speech be infringed upon? As a wise man once said, when you restrict the freedom to criticise and ridicule, you create a society with a veneer of tolerance, concealing a snake pit of unaired and unchallenged views. In 2015, oppressing free speech and open discourse is a far greater threat to the Australian way of life and the Australian dream than racism.
Thanks, Rita. Pallavi Sinha is an immigration